Hello Math 1052 students. I'm going to do a few exercises on exchange rates to help you prepare for case study 2 and unit test 2, which are upcoming. These are from the homework from the lectures. These are exercises 4.3, questions 3A and 4A on page 145 of your textbook. Question 3A, that's in the back of the book. 4A is not, but I'll do that anyway because I think it's a good example. Okay, so let's start with 3A. So, a bank in London, Ontario charges 2.25% commission to buy and sell currencies. Assume that the current exchange rate is $1 is to 1.3342 Canadian dollars. How many Canadian dollars will you receive from the bank if you sell 1,375 US dollars? Okay, so the first part of this problem is to set up the proportion. So it'll be, so it's based on a ratio of US dollars to Canadian dollars, which is the exchange rate, right? So you set up the left-hand side of the proportion by pulling up the ratio of the exchange rate. The exchange rate is essentially a ratio. $1 is to 1.3342 Canadian dollars. All right, so make sure you got the proper currencies lined up. In this case, the US is in the numerator and the Canadian dollars is in the denominator because it's this is the first item mentioned and the second item mentioned. Right, so you've got to line up the $1 with the US dollar and the 1.3342 with the Canadian dollar in the denominator. Right, so this is one part of the proportion. So the other part of the proportion is where you put the unknown. And the unknown is the Canadian dollars. It asks, because the question asks how many Canadian dollars will you receive. Okay, so you denote the Canadian dollars by the variable x, so x will be in the denominator because the Canadian dollars is in the denominator in the other part of the left-hand side of the proportion and the exchange rate ratio here. All right, so we also are given by the question that we are selling 1,375 US dollars. Okay, so you put the 1,375 in the numerator, 1,375, because the US dollars are all in the numerator side in the other side of the proportion here. All right, then now we are able to cross multiply x multiplied by 1 and 1.3342 multiplied by 1,375. So that will be x, because x multiplied by 1 is just x, and 1,375 multiplied by 1.3342. That's how we cross multiply. Okay, so we get the calculator and find out what that number is. So that'll be 1,375 multiplied by 1.3342. All right, that will be equal to 1,834.525. Okay, so let's store this in A. So go store A. Okay, so we can just easily recall it when we need to. All right, so that's just part of the solution. We need to account for the commission that the bank charges on these transactions. So we also know that we're selling US dollars, and we sell currencies. We have to subtract the commission. So when you sell, you subtract S and S, right? So to sell, you need to subtract the commission, right? Subtract. So S and S. That's how you remember it. When you buy or purchase, you add commission. Remember that. Okay, so in this case we are selling, so we need to subtract commission. Okay, so that'll be 1,834.525 multiplied by 1 minus 2.25%. So we put that in decimal form. That's 0.0225. Okay, so we go to the calculator here. 1 minus 0.0225. That'll equal to 0.9775. Okay, so 1,803.4.525. Okay, so we just do that. We'd call A multiplied by 0.9775 to get the answer, which is Canadian dollars 1,793.248188. Okay, so we round off to the second decimal place. That'll be 1,793.25, and that is the answer to question 3A. Okay, so let's go to the second part. This is the other question I wanted to cover, which is this. Okay, so question number 4. The Bank of Toronto charges 2.5% commission to buy and sell currencies. Assume that we've got the same exchange rate as the previous example. $1 is to 1.3342 Canadian dollars. How many Canadian dollars would we have to pay to purchase 1,500 US? Okay, so let's see now. So we do the same thing, set up the proportion. Got US dollars is to Canadian dollars, right? So we set up the left side of the proportion to get, and we use the exchange rate ratio. So 1 US dollar is to 1.3342 Canadian dollars. Okay, so the ratio will be the right side of the ratio. Again, we'll get the unknown, how many Canadian dollars. So we put the X in the Canadian in the denominator, because that corresponds to the other part of the proportion, because the Canadian dollar is in the denominator here. So the unknown Canadian dollar value of X will be also on the denominator. And we know we need to purchase 1,500 US dollars. So that will go up in the numerator, because the US dollar is in the numerator in the left side of the proportion. So we cross multiply, right? So that'll be X multiplied by 1, that's just X. And then 1,500 multiplied by 1.3342. Okay, that'll equal to, get the calculator here. So that's 1,500 multiplied by 1.3342 equals $2,001 and 30 cents Canadian. Okay, but we need to account for the commission that the bank charges. So we're purchasing, or we're buying dollars, right? So whenever we buy, we have to add the commission. All right, so we get the raw exchange of 2001.30 multiplied by 1 plus, because we're adding, right? We're adding the 2.5 commission. So we put that in decimal form, 0.025. Okay, so that'll be 2001.30 times 1.025. Okay, get the calculator here. So 1.025 multiplied by 2001.30 to get the answer, which is 2,051 and 3325 Canadian dollars. Round off to the nearest second decimal place. That'll be 2051.33 Canadian dollars. And that's the answer to 4A. All right, thank you. Good luck in your preparations for the case study and unit test.